Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do our best to operate this very efficiently so we can get a maximum number of questions to the candidates. So, we wish to welcome everybody to the Eastport Community Center. And our host this evening is Melissa Maddox-Evans, who is the Director and CEO of HACA, the Housing Authority of the City of Annapolis.
Welcome. We are very excited to have you with us this evening. When Bo first initially asked us about this idea, we were like, yes. And you need to have it here, at our community center. So again, welcome. Make sure you help yourself to some refreshments. I'd like to welcome you to our neighborhood, as we are great neighbors of you all, and we are excited for this event, and also welcome you just not on behalf of myself, of our staff, and our board of commissioners, who are also very excited to host this event. We're excited to hear what the candidates have to say, have lots of great questions for them. I've been assigned to keep the time, so don't be mad. Okay. So, but again, welcome, and we hope you enjoy this evening.
Very generous. Her staff did a great job helping set up everything, and that was very much appreciated. And also Dan Letterberg is here, and I want to thank him for allowing us to have our banner at the Eastport Shopping Center for the last month. So, thank you, Dan. And I'm going to quickly run through the program that we have planned. So, we have about 9 different categories of topics. We have 2 or 3 questions for each topic. Each of the candidates will be given 2 minutes to respond. If they don't need 2 minutes, thank you. Much appreciated. Time is of the essence. And we think we have a very thorough and thought out list of questions to be asking the candidates that have been derived from not only their own material, the internet, and the other forums that were held so far this year. So welcome to the preeminent forum at the Eastport Civic Association's Candidates Forum. First and foremost, I want to ask the ECA Board of Directors to please stand and be ready. And you too can be one of them. So, as I learned one time, if you complain about this event, your name is on the nomination list. So just think about it. With that, we're going to go through the questions. And tonight, we are very happy to welcome Alderman Rhonda Pindell Charles. Democratic candidate, Jared Littman. And our Republican candidate, Bob O'Shea. Our candidates running for Ward 8, better known as the Maritime Republic of Eastport. We have Will Kuno. And Frank Ford. Ladies and gentlemen, debate and discussion will begin. Please have a seat. The order of the first opening remarks was decided by a card draw, and the candidates, we're going to start with the Alderman first, and first Alderman will be Will Kuno to provide his opening remarks. Please pull the microphone to you. This is a shared microphone tonight.
Nice. Hello. Good evening. I first want to start off tonight by saying thanks to the ECA for coordinating this event, to HACA for opening your doors for us this evening, to my fellow candidates for your willingness to serve your community. Most importantly, I want to say thank you to every single person in this room for showing up, being part of the conversation, as you are the foundation for the future of this community. All of us here care a lot about Annapolis, and tonight we're going to share our vision for the future of it. I stand up here tonight as someone who has experienced firsthand both the opportunities and challenges we face as a community. I have started a business from scratch here in Eastport, Oscar's Coffee. We serve good cups. I've built a home from start to finish, and I've also been the victim of a violent crime just down the street from me. These experiences have shaped me and do not mean that I have all of the answers. But what they do mean is that I have something that is dearly missing at our city leadership, and that is perspective. Since starting this campaign, I have had this unshakable desire that I've continually shared with you about my hope that each and every one of you feels heard. Excuse me. Whether you've lived here for 5 years or 20 years, whether you have started a business or not, and regardless of the aisle or the political aisle that you stand on, every one of you deserves to feel heard and represented. With a deep love for this community and a long desire to serve throughout the course of my life, I'm asking all of us to dream about what could be and not settle for how it's always been. Whether it's fixing a sidewalk or reining in our taxes, I believe in our collective ability to work together, plan for the future, and improve the lives of all of us. As the unaffiliated candidate, I am here to offer a new voice, to challenge the status quo, to offer results-oriented solutions, and to bring a fresh perspective to City Council. Eastport is overdue for new leadership, and I look forward to sharing my vision for how we can make it happen together. Thanks for coming here.
Thank you, Bo, and thank you, Melissa, and Will. It's good to see you here tonight, and all the candidates. Thank you to ECA and to HACA for everything you all do. So, hello, Eastport. I am also running to be that new voice and the new leadership for Eastport. I grew up here in Eastport in Annapolis, and I went to the Naval Academy. I've had a career of service. I've served at the highest levels of the United States Navy, followed by leading and growing a major nonprofit. And along the way, I started and successfully operated 2 small businesses. Through these experiences, I learned how to get things done. And now, I just have to say it. I love Eastport. I've enjoyed swimming in Spot Creek. I've enjoyed building a home with my wife here in Eastport. And yes, we dealt with the permitting challenges. I've talked to hundreds of you for the last 10 months as I've looked to do this and build this tent. And it's become abundantly clear to me that Eastporters love where we live, but we're frustrated and we're worried about the future. And we realize that we have a lot to get done. And what are those things that we have to get done? First, we need a safer public safety. We need to feel safe when we're here in Eastport. We need to have a plan to focus on parking and traffic and sidewalks, and to give the police the tools they need to do their job. We need to overhaul the budget process and stop the massive increases in property taxes. And we need to focus on constituent services and give the tools to the city staff so that we can stop the frustration, fix the permitting process, and have the city staff be more responsible. We have a lot to do. And I am committed to doing it full time because I have the time to do it. Thank you.
Next up will be Jared Goodman.
Thank you so much, Bo and Melissa. Eastport, you've been good to me, and I hope the feeling has been mutual. A lot of you know me from the hardware store, my city council work, or even campaigning. A lot of you met me at the hardware store when I started there in 2004, and we've had the experience of talking about your projects and coming up with solutions. You've celebrated with us when we were named, thanks to your voting, best hardware store in town multiple times. You celebrated when we achieved energy independence by installing our own solar panels. And you celebrated and you worked with me to donate, including this year's donations, $200,000 to our local schools. During my time on the City Council, Ross Arnett was your Alderman, and congratulate him on his retirement. When I was on the City Council, I would send out weekly emails before each council session. In Eastport, you responded with your ideas and your suggestions, and together, along with working with your Alderman, we worked on significant legislation in those 5 years I was on the council. We tackled issues on the budget, environment, schools, public safety, and more. We didn't always agree, but we collaborated, we worked together, and we made real substantial progress. You've also worked with me on this campaign. You've hosted events for me, answered the doors, posted yard signs for me. You've responded positively to my strategy of listen, unite, do, and you've responded well to my priorities. Improving our city services like parking, permitting, recreation, improving our culture in city government so that you have a responsive city government, and of course, environmental resilience. Thank you for your support. It's a real pleasure to be here with you tonight. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Eastport. Thank you, HACA, for having us. I've done this once before here. It's a nice venue. Thank you. I'm Bob O'Shea. I'm running for mayor because Annapolis deserves leadership that listens, acts, and delivers real results. For more than 40 years, I've helped businesses in the contract and defense medical industry. I've dealt with complex programs. I deal with programs that literally help our military save lives. Our city will thrive when every resident feels safe, supported, and more than anything, heard. From creating opportunities for our youth to protecting public safety, I'm committed to building a city where everyone can succeed. My 3 points are transparency, accountability, and accessibility. My reasons for this: I'm running as a candidate that will make a difference. Annapolis deserves better. As your mayor, with the experience and passion I've developed over the years, I can make the difference happen. Working together, we can focus on the needs of our city to make a better experience for the life for all. Whether a tourist, an individual that makes and works here, a child, a family, or someone who's young at heart, I want you to enjoy our city and make good, solid memories that you'll take with you the rest of your life. As mayor, I will concentrate on the residents who live and play here, the residents who pay taxes, and keep this place running for all. Thank you, and I look forward to your vote. I'm Bob O'Shea. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And now, Alderman Charles.
Thank you to everyone. What should we all expect from our government and elected leaders and the mayor serving as our top official? Under Pendel Charles' administration as your mayor, number one, continuity, and that includes serving 67 days and 9 different occasions as your acting mayor. Number two, transparency. Residents and businesses should have an overall general knowledge of what's going on. Number three, consistency. A commitment to keeping the public informed and engaged via town halls, board-specific meetings, regular newsletters, press releases, etc. Number four, flexibility with the recognition to possibly recalibrate. The ability to pivot immediately, for example, with COVID, and still maintain core and needed services. Number five, leadership and confidence in government. Recognizing that issues and solutions are ever-evolving, not static. Mainly due to the access of data in real time and having confidence in your mayor's leadership to make those decisions. Number six, collaboration. Maintain and increase meaningful partnerships. Number seven, consensus building and engagement. No one is always right and no one is always wrong. For example, the establishment of pop-ups, task forces as it relates to maybe even a kitchen cabinet that revolves city and board commissions. Bottom line is the city don't know all the answers. Number eight, communication and responsiveness. We will try to communicate to you the answer or response within a reasonable time. Personally, what Annapolis has given to me and what I want to give back, I plan to take the Alderwoman's salary plus $1 for the first 2 years and then determine how this $200,000 for 2 years can be best be used over a 2-year period. And number 10, it goes without saying, a sense of humor. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Alderman Charles. We're going to start the debate. Actually, it's a forum. It's truly not a debate. But we're going to hit the heart of the subject that's always on everybody's mind and it's been brought up in your opening remarks as well. That of public safety, particularly in Eastport. So the latest annual crime statistics report on the City of Annapolis website is dated 2022. To find out information about real-time crime, the resident must go to the police website for 2025 data. Based on this information, 2025 is shaping up to exceed 2024 figures for homicides, non-fatal shootings, and shots fired. How would you describe the current crime situation in the city, and what should be done to improve safety for residents? We'll reverse the order that we had previously, so Mr. Thorpe, you will speak first.
Thank you very much, Paul. So crime is near and dear to everybody's heart. And first and foremost, I think what we need to do is look at crime as a holistic problem. It's not just a police issue. It's not just a city government issue. I grew up here in Eastport, and the way we reduced crime, prevented crime, and solved crime was as a community. Neighbors helping neighbors, neighbors looking out for neighbors. But we cannot forget what the core of who we are as Eastport. After that, then you look at the city government. I've spent a significant amount of time in the chief of police office talking to him about the challenges of policing in Annapolis. I've done a 12-hour ride-along on a Saturday night and experienced firsthand what our police force deals with. First of all, I want to tell you, our police force is really good. The men and women who serve are awesome. But the police force does not have the tools that they need to do the job. They need more tools, they need more resources, they need first and foremost more people. We need to have police officers a better presence, a community presence. Here at Harbor House and Eastport Terrace, I would love to see police officers having relationships with the young men and women that live here. I'd like to see police officers riding on bicycles through the community. Just the other day, Friday, at Frida's house, a police officer stopped in the car and took the time to talk to a group of people, just as good neighbors. But policing is not enough. We need a whole of government look at this. Recs and Parks has a role on it. The reason I didn't get in trouble when I was a kid is because my parents made sure I was exhausted every night. We need to give kids the opportunity to enjoy themselves across the board, community services, etc. And I think it should be a first priority for the government. Thank you.
As someone that has this issue that's very near and dear to my heart, I would say that with crime being up 48% year to date, as you just mentioned, there's also statistics that say that over 60% of crime is related to less than 1% of the population. We have the Violence Reduction Center up in Maryland that has put out data that shows that a blend of both providing opportunities for our residents as well as providing strong enforcement is the strongest combination to help reduce and address crime in our communities. We have cities throughout our country that have adopted this strategy. Some of us just up the street, and some throughout my hometown of Knoxville, Memphis, and Boston, for example. These are great examples of cities that are using data to drive what it is they are doing. Going into neighborhoods that are the most in need of opportunity, but also working with our police force to provide enforcement where it is needed. A combination of micro-policing using that data, as well as a clear and available strategy to all of our residents about what the police force is focusing on, as well as how they are doing. In my line of work, data drives every decision that we make, and we make it a very strong point to let that instruct us on where we place our time and how we use our resources. I've also talked to Chief Jackson about the notion of introducing substations throughout our city. Those substations can serve as the starting and ending place for our police officers, so that way they're out in the community, they're meeting their neighbors, and they are seen as both a force for good and a force to remind that there is an enforcement that is also occurring. I think that a blend of all of these three things between micro-policing, a clear strategy, strong data, and community engagement can help involve all members of our community into the reduction of crime across our entire city, and I believe we can do it.
Yes, community policing and policing is a holistic approach. Back in 2022, at the beginning of the year, the first 10 weeks, we had an uptick in violence. I saw what was happening. Archie Trader at the time was wrecking parks. We had a discussion after I gave a 1-hour State of the Public City address before the council. What happened was Archie texted me that night. We got Chief Jackson involved the next morning, and we came up with a program called Annapolis United. It involved police, fire, Office of Emergency Management, and wrecking parks, and we pulled in HACA as well. And what we did was we had $185,000. We inundated the children and the young folks with many, many activities that were memorable and opportunities and experiences for them. We had one homicide that year, which was the middle of January. When we saw the uptick going in middle of March, we came up with this strategy and this program called Annapolis United. We did not have any more homicides for the rest of the year. The program worked. And what we've tried to do is keep it going. But sometimes it's really hard to get the funding and to get the momentum. But what I can say is the University of Maryland workload study has been completed. It's being reviewed in the mayor's office. One thing that I know it says is that there needs to be more police officers within the police department. We want to do the community policing, absolutely. Our re-entry program and many other programs that we can blend together to make sure that all of our residents feel safe and are there for us. But what we will do, I said, is continue with what we're doing, but enhancing it, because we do need more officers. We need more community policing involvement, more officers on the street, but also going to our pop-up resource fairs in the summertime, where it's been really, really advantageous to our children as well as to our adults. I could say more, but I see that my time is up.
Thank you.
So, the first thing we need to do, we're going to go like, what's the relationship? We got to get the budget under control. Why? We went from 106 to 200 million over the last 8 years. If I can save some money, redundancy, cut it back, guess what I can do? I can hire more police and I can hire more firemen. Why do we want to do that? We want to do it because we want to be able to put our officers on the street, so they're possibly walking, they're on bikes. Why do we want that? When you have a presence, it is a deterrent. It makes it so all of a sudden it's like, okay, I don't know if this is the place, I'm not going to do something I'm not supposed to do. ArcGIS, which is actually where some of the numbers come in regards to the numbers, statistics, whether it's homicides, shots fired, whatever else. And you need to understand something. We all know this, that's on a federal level right now also, so I'm going to say it. It's a methodology in which the numbers are brought in, okay? First of all, I do not feel anybody feels safe when in this neighborhood it is not fair for the people at Harbor House or Eastport Terrace to have to wonder how many shots they're going to hear tonight and no action in regards to taking care of it. Yes, sometimes maybe it's fireworks or something else, but at the last forum that I was at for Chamber of Commerce, 3 individuals from this neighborhood came up and said what I said was accurate, that there are a lot of shots fired and they feel uncomfortable. I don't know if anybody in here disagrees with that, but I feel the best way to make it so we take care of our police is getting more and making them visible so they're part of the community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our public safety departments, which includes police, fire, OEM, need our support, and so do our community organizations. There are violence interrupters and increased recreation opportunities. Can you imagine if the facility we're in right now allowed basketball to be played up till midnight? How providing those sort of recreation opportunities, giving people something to do is so powerful in being productive. So we need to do a lot more of that. For public safety, I can take a lot more than 2 minutes, so I'm going to try to hit some highlights. Number one, we have a human resources issue. By code, we're supposed to have 131 officers. We actually have 113 officers. And you have to give it plus or minus, people retire, it goes down, people come out of the training academy, it goes up. We have a huge gap between what we're supposed to have and what we actually have. So our existing officers have to work forced overtime and are stretched thin, can't be everywhere at once. We have a returning citizens, which I applaud, returning citizens program, that I applaud. We need to further make sure they have good resources and make sure that they have not overlap redundancy to the county and state programs. We need to work collaboratively to expand those programs. And we need to give those resources that those organizations have to people before they commit crime. We have, like the recreation opportunity. Recreation is so important. As a coach for a dozen years, I can see the value of it. We need to make sure our police officers have the tools that they need, whether it's drones that can go to a call site before the police officer gets there so they see what's on the site before they arrive, makes them safer and any offender safer, frankly, let alone the homeowners that might be involved. We need to make sure they have K-9 officers. We need to make sure that the programs that we have now for violence interrupters, we can expand upon. The key part of that is using people that are in the community, have built trust, and making sure that they have coordination with the city resources. I see my time's up. Thank you.
I think it's best at this point in the work that we recognize where we are. And this question to the forum is, both Eastport Terrace and Harbor House are on the edge of Ward 8 and are considered part of our Eastport community. The ECA often sponsors programs that benefit the quality of life of HACA residents. What is your position and proposed solutions to bring better health and employment training services to the residents of HACA? To start with you, Mr. Kuhn.
So as a resident of Eastport, I live just down the street. And one of the greatest things that I have been able to participate in is moving over to this side of Eastport is being involved. And I think one of the most interesting things that I have experienced is by showing up and creating dialogue, communicating, you can build a sense of community. So I think we need to start there. There needs to be more communication, there needs to be more encouragement for involvement for everyone, because even though they might be in a different ward, or even though they might be across the street, they are still our neighbors, they are our friends, and they are members of our community, and they deserve to feel like they are part of that community. In terms of your specific question of health and employment training, I think we've discussed tonight a lot about the need for after-school programs, for extra opportunities for people that are part of Eastport Terrace and Harbor House to take advantage of, because the healthier they are, the more involved they are in the community. One of the conversations I had recently was someone brought up the notion to me that the Narcan is in the community center. The community center closes at 4 p.m. So if you're having an overdose, I hope you do it before 4 p.m. because otherwise you don't have those important resources that are available to you. Small changes like that can have a huge impact for members of all of our community, especially the ones that are the most challenged. And so I think we can start by communicating, building community, and making small incremental changes like that can have a huge impact on all members of Eastport Terrace and Harbor House.
Thank you. So I think we need to look at the challenge here on a short-term and a long-term basis. As Will said, there's a short-term challenge here. But I think the short-term challenge is being handled pretty well. There's some people in this room right now who have committed themselves to helping this situation out in the short term. And we need to stay focused on that. But where the city council needs to display leadership is working with HACA on the future of Harbor House and the future of Eastport Terrace. I grew up right down the street. I still live right down the street. We cannot accept the status quo of what is at Harbor House and Eastport Terrace. We need to make sure we're fixing what needs to be fixed and dealing with the challenges that are what I call medium term. And then long term, we need to really focus on getting the Choice Neighborhood Initiative completed, which is the plan to replace the buildings here at Eastport Terrace and Harbor House with multi-use, multi-income residents. I had the opportunity to spend a couple hours with Melissa and with Bishop Craig Coates learning about the challenges that they're facing and where the future is. It was a pretty intense conversation because we're talking about the lives of people who want to live in dignity but do not have the opportunity to. And I have to tell you, Melissa doesn't pull punches. She tells you like it is. And at the end of the conversation, I asked Melissa, how can I help? And she looked at me and she said, Frank, loan me your voice. That's a pretty powerful request coming from the president director of HACA. My answer is yes. It was yes that day. I continue to attend the HACA meetings because I'm focused on making sure the city council does everything we can to get the Choice Neighborhood Initiative across the finish line. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. HACA residents are Annapolis residents. I think too often that's forgotten about when residents in HACA, Housing Authority, public housing, are thought of as the federal government's problem because it's public housing. These are Annapolis residents. And we do need to work on housing. I echo what Frank said. The Choice Neighborhood Initiative, the Robin Hood redevelopment plans, these are crucial projects that we need to make sure that they happen. How can the city help? Number one, permitting is a nightmare for almost anybody. These huge projects are going to be challenging. And I commit as your mayor to make sure that these projects, and we'll do everything we can to get through the permitting process as quickly as possible. And if we need to have some exceptions, we'll work with you to do that. Number two, mental health is a significant issue. The city does not have its own mental health crisis unit. We rely on the county's health department, or that's one of the shared services. We need to make sure that we're using the mental health resources available in the county as much as possible in as many locations as possible. Mental health crisis has certainly gotten a lot worse for many individuals, especially since the pandemic. Certain programs that you've started, like bringing in Tony Strong Grants program, I think is wonderful. If you haven't been to one of her graduation ceremonies, they're really quite moving, where she's working with a cohort of individuals and helping them learn skills that maybe some of us took for granted that we learned from our parents or growing up. And she's making sure that these individuals have basic banking skills, how to handle budgets, applying for jobs, basic skills that not everyone had the opportunity to learn. And they're so important, so I applaud you, Melissa, for bringing those in. Job training. I talk to, obviously, as a business owner, I talk to a lot of fellow business owners. There is such a need for hiring and having people be trained for jobs that are available here in the city. We can work with our private communities much better, work with our high school, work with our trade schools.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it.
My friend Mike Panelli's perfect timing, Mike, you walked in right now, I'm about to mention. He actually felt something towards HACA and he said something to me. I don't care what your definition is for affordable housing, but whatever the definition is, what does affordable housing mean if it's not livable housing? Why do I say that? Because first of all, and listen, I'm going to say it to you right up front, directly. When I become mayor, one of the first things I'm going to do is we are going to start making it so we're going to be inspecting all the properties to bring them up to a standard of living that anybody would expect. Why do we regulate and take care of like businesses, homeowners, and everything else, and make sure they're totally up to code, yet we don't even care if potentially a smoke detector or the mold is happening inside of the homes that you take care of, Melissa. I'm going to say one other thing. I was over at Clay Street. They built these 4 homes across from Homicide, and 2 of the gentlemen came out. One of them, they ride bikes, they pick. They said, you want to know something? Why do all the other houses here have screen doors except for our 4? They never put a screen door on here. He said, we'd like to have a screen door. The reason why is because we would like to make it so that we can actually have fresh air and enjoy where we live. In regards to students, education is extremely important. We need to make it so that communities feel that education means something. Education is the thing that steps forward, makes it so you can move forward. Someday we'll talk about my term for the Maryland Lottery, and it's not the ticket, it's STEM. Every student that deserves to be in STEM should be able to be in STEM, and we shouldn't let them literally get kicked out because they didn't get it. The ones who need it most sometimes don't get it. Thanks for giving me a couple extra seconds.
Thank you very much.
I can never forget that public housing and subsidized housing residents are our residents. Because many of them I went to school with. And I know their children went to school with my children. So I can never forget that no matter what community I go into. I was having a situation in one of my communities with inspections. And I took 4 complete days and walked with the inspectors each and every day to see how it was conducted. I did not go in anyone's units except for 2 who asked me to come in. But I got a great sense of how it all operates. And yes, the inspections are very, very important. The other thing I want to mention is Tony Strong-Pratt's program. That she finished her first cohort the last time. This was the first cohort for this program. She has My Sister's Keeper, which is another program that she's done for about 5 years, and I think I missed maybe 2 because of my grandson's birthday. But what she has done is amazing, and it is a program that takes meaningful steps towards securing long-term housing security through behavior modification. And what she does is teaches folks what does your lease mean. She also gives housekeeping tips and everything in between, and they partner with Ms. Maddox Evans to get this done and on the road. We had a young man, part of the C&I program, in 5th grade. He was here watching what was going on and seemed very interested. And I like to pull together different entities together. And what I did with one of the HACA folks, we had him, because he was so interested in what was going on with C&I, he spent the entire day without planning and zoning leadership and department. And he sat in the mayor's chair. He was so thrilled. So I like to partner students with what goes on in the community and what we do on the ground, the boots on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been previously mentioned in the forum, but we want to be more specific about the city budget. The city budget 10 years ago was approximately $100 million. In 2025, it's $200 million for a 40,000 population city. The vast majority of the increased revenue is attributed to the rising cost of home prices. How do you balance the city's budget's increasing dependence on rising property values and the need to have affordable housing for residents? We will start with Mr. Fuller.
Thank you, Paul. So the budget is an issue that I have a lot of experience in through my career working budgets. First and foremost, I want to say about our budget, we do it backwards. We first figure out how much money we can make based on the increased assessed values that Paul's talking about, and then we have a bucket full of cash and we go spend it. Every other organization that I've ever heard of figures out expenses first and then looks at where they're going to get revenue. We need to stop the massive increase in property taxes. Some people have said it's about the tax rate. It's not about the tax rate. It's about the fact that the assessed values continue to go up and we don't change the tax rate. So if I get my way, we're going to overhaul the budget process, working with the mayor and the city council, and then evaluate what the income is going to be next year, and then look at last year's budget, and that's where we start, is we start at last year's budget. Now, as far as being able to afford to live in Annapolis, and let me talk specifically Eastport, there's factors that can cause the increase of the value of our homes. First of all, I will tell you that increased values of homes are not a bad thing. They should be a good thing. But to be able to have places where people can live, we create short-term rentals. And then we wonder why rents go up. You know, so we need to look across Eastport and find out and figure out where are opportunities that we can put people in more affordable homes. Choice Neighborhood Initiative is one of them. The Tyler Avenue Community Initiative is another one. And I also want to say we've got to fix Nautilus Point because we already have rental homes that are affordable and it's fallen apart and the city needs to get serious about the inspection process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
First thing I'll say about our rising revenue and cost of living to live here is that every single one of us in the room has got our own personal responsibility to take care of our finances. We look at what we make, we look at what we pay for it, and we have to make decisions accordingly. If we can't afford it, we don't go out and buy it. As you accurately suggested and stated, the revenue of our city has gone up exponentially, as well as our property taxes have risen 40% in the past 15 years. One of the things we will hear tonight is that, you know, a number of reasons for why this is, but one thing that needs to be highlighted is the leadership of the city for the past 15 years has been led by the same party, which has seen these rises. So if we keep hearing different solutions, I just want to remind you that the same party is telling you that they have got a different solution to the problem we have continued to face. In terms of how we deal with the budget, I think it's been not mentioned yet, but the size of our government continues to rise. We have 890 employees, which is 1 to every 45 residents. When you look across other cities that are similar to ours, like Bowie or others, their ratio is much higher. And so one of the driving factors of our increased cost is 60% is payroll. So like each and every one of us that has to balance our own checkbook, has to look at the expenses that we have to pay for on a daily basis, we cannot just continue to spend and not hold ourselves accountable for what it is we are spending and what it is we are bringing in. Property values rising is generally a good thing. But when you look at the comparison between Anne Arundel County and us, and they have a 2% homestead tax credit, and we refuse to lower ours by, and it's at 10%. And so what we do is we continue to get more money because have revenues go up, but then in down years, when we need a rainy day fund or we need to rein in our spending, we don't do that. And that's not how each one of us in this room operate our home budgets, but that is how the city should be operating going forward.
Thank you. I think we need to step back and recalibrate a little bit. We have almost 41,000 residents here, 4,200 businesses. We also take in probably close to 4 million visitors a year. Everybody and a lot of people want to live here. They really do. And that's the attractiveness of the city of Annapolis in this area. And I tell anybody going from Norfolk to New York, we're right in the middle. What can't you find in this area? So we have to look at us being, in some ways, our own worst enemy. People want to be here. They want to live here. They want to come here. They want to work here. We do have a 3 stellar bond ratings. I think that bodes well for our city. We also participate, of course, in the tax differential. We take advantage of the services that the county provides that we do not provide. We have a little less than 600 full-time employees, about 50 who are seasonal. We're looking at, and I want to look at, and continue to look at, where the gaps may be or where the overlaps may also be. And that's in my newsletter as well, a couple of months ago. So
need to kind of look at what services we're providing. I know there's been a move afoot, a talk every now and then about the county taking over. But in the end, we still have to provide those services. We have a class 1 fire department, which makes sure that our rates on our property insurance are lower. We have a clear accredited police department. We should always take a look at what we have going for us, and then take a look at what the budget is this year. We looked at sidewalks, and that was a major public safety issue. So we really need to take a strategic look at everything that we do and make a decision as to how we move forward and whatever we decide to do as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alderman.
City budget is a mess. Annapolis does not have a revenue problem. Annapolis has a massive spending problem. How many of you personally have had your salaries double in the last 8 years? I don't think anybody in here, unless you're potentially in business, are going to raise that hand. Let's have a better question. What happens when all of a sudden you've got $7,000 worth of bills and you only have $4,000 to pay them? That's what's happening with this city. Why do I say that? It literally is a train of thought or the way you do business. When before you have the money and the money is in the bank, you rip down the Harbor Master House. What does it have to do with budgets? When you spend more than you bring in, or you're spending more because Eastport, don't you guys have a drinking problem, they say? But it's like a drunken sailor. Why do I say that? My biggest issue is the following. Annapolis has the ability to fix this and right the ship. The minute that I go in, I am going to bring in someone that people know, and he is going to literally redo the accounting and validate where we stand, because I'm not going to have a landmine hit me a year in because something was due that we didn't know that has happened to other administrations. Everybody, this budget is out of control. You need somebody who literally knows how to control it. One last thing, ABC. It's not going to be on the ballot. It's not going to happen. When I'm there, by March 27th, we're going to put a 2% cap so family homes, people can still afford to live in them, and they don't get taxed out of their house. That is a family piece of property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Alderman.
Thank you for the question. You asked about housing and budgets. I'm going to try to tackle both questions as quickly as I can. On housing, we need more housing, period. Housing prices are partly going up because there's just not enough. More demand than there is supply. As your mayor, I will work on various policies to make that easier to build. Number one, our permitting department. I alluded to it earlier. We have clear ways and have various strategies to fix our permitting department to make it more efficient. When you make it more efficient to go through the permitting process, you bring down the cost of housing. How do we do that? We do proactive housing strategy. We have someone in charge of housing, like we have a police chief. We should have someone in charge of housing. And identify properties that are underserved and we can incentivize by pre-approving plans for more development. Those plans can include mixed use. In our office, our retail or commercial spaces, we can have more housing so we can get our stock increase. On the budget side, first I want to address some verifiable facts. The increase of number of employees in the past 8 years has not doubled. It's gone from roughly 612 to 650, and that's as of last week. There's a lot of caveats you can do with number of employees, whether you're talking about contractors and employees, but if you're talking apples to apples, it's about 612 to 650. On the budgeting, I have the experience of doing strategic planning, of actually cutting our city's budget as your alderman, of doing auditing to make sure we're spending our money wisely. I have the experience of when I added anything to the budget, I cut more from the budget than I was adding in any of my budget proposals. We do need to control our spending. We do need to make sure that we don't get out of control spending. But the solution there is to address the property tax rate, which is an equitable solution that affects all taxpayers.
Thank you very much. Before we leave this subject, we're going to throw a wild card in. This will be requiring the candidates to provide a 30-second elevator pitch to someone interested in moving to the Annapolis area, knowing that it costs 30% more in taxes to live in the city than the county. What is your response to encourage that person or family to move into the city? Mr. Kuhn, 30 seconds.
So I've had this conversation a lot with my friends. I'm 37, so a lot of my friends are looking to start a family, build a home, or get a new home. And my honest answer to that question is, don't move to Annapolis. And I didn't have to tell them that. They already knew that because they can't afford it. Can't afford it here. And so what I've been talking about and sharing with you tonight is strategies in which we can actually encourage them to move here and provide them housing that they can afford to live in. So right now, I would say it's probably hard to move here. But as your alderman, talking about the things that I would recommend that we do to lower the cost of housing, I would look forward to being able to tell them, yes, please move here because it's a great place to live.
Thank you. Mr. Thorpe.
So I think you see a big difference here. I fundamentally disagree. I want to encourage people to move to Annapolis and move to Eastport because this is the greatest place to live. Our taxes are higher. We're going to work that. The benefits we get of living in Maritime, Eastport are tremendous. I'm not accepting higher taxes. We've got to lower the taxes, the tax rate increase. We've got to stop the massive increase in taxes. But the benefits of living in Eastport and what Eastport's going to be in 2030 and 2040 with a vision for Maritime Eastport, I absolutely am encouraging people with the opportunities that are coming in Eastport. Please, please move here. Thank you.
When I look out into this audience, many of you I know, or at least seen around. And what can I say to folks? Look who your neighbors will be. Here they are right here. What better neighbors can you not have than those folks who live in Eastport and around our city? We have wonderful schools. We have a wonderful health department. Look at the Bay. And we are, indeed, the land of pleasant living.
Thank you very much.
The reason that I would try and convince somebody that I know to live here, Maryland will collapse. The Bay, the businesses that we have, the convenience. Think about the places we can drive within 3 to 4 hours. Think about the 3 airports that we have to take us anywhere we want in the world. The question was, why do you want someone to move here? I want someone to move here to enjoy our lifestyle, to enjoy the Mid-Atlantic, to enjoy that treasure out there called the Chesapeake Bay. And the biggest reason I want someone to move here is because I am about to be the mayor of Annapolis, Maryland. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Whitman.
I'm a transplant myself, and so I've lived in other places, and I think I can do a hard sell of why Annapolis is a great place to move to. Number one, there's so many great jobs here. There's opportunities for employment and good quality jobs. Our police and fire department are among the best in the community. You will get quicker responses here in the city than you will in the county. You have access to so many community events. I was going over with my wife. Do you want to go to this event, that event, that event? There's so many wonderful things to do because we have so many interesting people who are engaged in so many organizations. It's just a fabulous place to live. We have a connected community. I've never lived in a place, and this is one of the reasons that I drive to run for office. I've never lived in a place that I feel more connected and engaged with, where people know each other, want to support each other, want to help each other do better. And finally, of course, you're not going to find a better hardware store.
And with that commercial break, we are inviting the audience, if they so wish, to stand and stretch at this moment. We also will be accepting questions from the audience that will be written on cards and delivered to the Eastport Civic Association Pondering Committee, and they will consider those questions, although we have a very robust list of questions to continue to be asked this evening that have been vetted by many sources. But if you have something that you think needs to be considered, please come and get a card, and we have a pen, and we'll let you provide that question. So if anyone would like to stretch at this moment, please do. So if you can please be quiet. We're asking you to be quiet. We know you came to hear the candidates. Okay. Moving on to a topic near and dear to the hearts of East Puerto Ricans. The members of the Eastport Civic Association were surveyed on the city's proposal to allow house barges to be docked in area marinas. Over 75% of ECA members expressed their opposition to house barges being allowed as short-term rentals. What is your position on this issue and why? Mr. Thorpe.
I am against the expansion of house barges in Eastport and in Annapolis, period. I'm also frustrated that we're even having this conversation. We need a vision for maritime Eastport. We need to focus on the fact that there's 3 pillars that make Annapolis great. 2 world-class universities, historic Annapolis and maritime Annapolis. We've lost our sight that maritime is such an economic driver, and one of the reasons why we want people to come to Annapolis and why people come to Annapolis, many of you came to Annapolis. We need to work on a vision that expands on our maritime zones. We cannot change our maritime zones. But maritime zones aren't good enough. We need a vision that encourages maritime businesses to come to Annapolis. If we get our maritime vision correct, we can expand greatly the opportunities for jobs for our youth growing up. We talk about jobs here. Jared mentioned jobs. A boat mechanic makes $175 an hour. The owner of Annapolis Harbor Marina created a curriculum to teach it in on a community college who offered it, but nobody took it. That is a leadership failure. We in the city of Annapolis need a maritime vision so that we're focused on bringing more businesses. When we talk about fixing the permitting process, that's crushing our maritime business. We need a maritime business. We need an advocate in planning and zoning for our maritime businesses. All this builds to, I think, the same question about putting short-term rental house barges in Eastport is the same as the idea of putting a McDonald's at the Market House.
So when we first started having this discussion was back in December before the committee was formed, and I met down at a local coffee shop here, and there were a lot of people that showed up to talk about this specific issue. And at that time, one of the biggest discussions was from liveaboards. Liveaboards have been a strong group of maritime members of our community since we started. And when we first started having the discussion about house barges, they were getting roped into it. And so I went around and talked to the marinas around Eastport, the marina owners, to get their perspective, talking to residents, and talking to businesses as well. And my position on this is that it's got to be a balanced approach. I agree with everyone that's talking about and concerned about the noise and the pollution that come with these house barges, but I also think that words and definitions matter. When I started looking into this issue myself, there's no definition for a liveaboard in our city code. There is no clear definition for what some of these words, whether they're houseboats and house barges, what they actually mean. And so I've actually put on my website recommendations for what these definitions could mean that are actually adopted nationwide by standardized maritime organizations. So I am not a proponent of thinking a house barge in all of our marinas is the answer. In fact, I don't agree with that at all. However, I am also concerned about the ability for our marinas to stay afloat. They're facing a number of challenges, whether it's environmental costs, or they're also being priced out of the market. In the places that Garrett and I have kept our boat here in Eastport, we absolutely love. And so when I talk to some of those marina owners, they are concerned about their ability to stay in business. And so my offer and my recommendations were to be able to amend the 1984 barge law that we already have on the books and update it to 2025 to be more reflective of what our reality is in 2025. That does not give marina owners the ability to stack their marinas with barges, but what it does do is give them the opportunity to have one. And so I think a balanced approach is what is needed to actually retain our maritime community and help our marinas stay afloat.
Thank you.
So to be clear on the houseboat question, I am against the houseboats.
Excuse me, it's house barges.
House barges. Appreciate the correction. I am against the house barges in Annapolis. And you also asked why. So we need to listen, unite, do. And when we were listening to people in Annapolis, they came out with major concerns about the number of short-term rentals that we mismanage already on land. If we're not doing a good job managing short-term rentals here on land where we have a lot more space to manage, I don't think anyone has the confidence that we could do an adequate job of managing short-term rentals on the house barges. Got it. Thank you. So I'm against the short-term rentals on the houseboats, and I'm against the houseboats altogether. But I also want to expand the comments to along the lines of what Frank was saying, and frankly Will, about protecting our liveaboards. The liveaboard community is hugely important in Annapolis, and when we pursue various legislation involving and affecting our marinas, I want to make sure that we're still protecting our liveaboards. As Frank was saying, we also need to protect our maritime zones. Those zones are what keeps those entities in business, and we love our maritime culture. It's part of what we are as Annapolis. We love the history, we love the maritime use, we love the different aspects of Annapolis. That's core to who we are as Annapolitans, and so I want to make sure we keep our maritime zones. I also want to expand public access. There's some efforts in various parks, like in Jeremiah Way, 6th Street, to improve our street end parks, improve the bulkheads, have the floating docks so that people can get their kayaks and other watercraft into the water and back out. We need to do a better job of making sure all residents from all communities have access to our water and that it's good water quality as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher, thanks for clarifying that, because even the Coast Guard and the Harbor Master don't know the difference between a houseboat and a house barge. So I oppose the house barge issue. Here's my main reason, and it goes beyond the house barge. How many of you are really concerned about STR, short-term rentals, turning our communities into literally condo projects on the weekend? We need to make it so that literally, number one, we stop some of these things in regards to the ADU. If you are a homeowner, we're going to let you do some of these things. If you're an investment guy who's coming here to just get property and take away what a neighborhood is what everybody's been talking about. It's us. And the thing about it is, when all of a sudden half of your neighborhood are the weekend rentals that come in, and there's no one there during the week, I have a problem with that. And that's the reason I disagree with the house barges and letting them in, especially where we're planning on letting them be what? STRs, short-term rentals. We need to stop that, and I hope most of you agree with that. The other thing that we really need to think about, we need to think about all of these people that we're bringing in. We already have a major traffic issue, everybody. What is it like on a normal day? But what my real concern is, vision-wise, when we have an emergency. All of a sudden we have West Street, potentially Forest, they're backed up or whatever, and now we need to get emergency services in. The more we keep talking about increasing development and putting more homes in our area, the more difficult it makes it for us to live in Eastport and Annapolis. I hope most of you agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I certainly respect the survey that was taken regarding the house barges, And I know there's some outstanding reports and reviews to be gathered from the task force. And I'm one of those people, I like to see in writing what has been decided, but also what else can emerge that might be some good ideas when it comes to the voting community, the maritime community. I think that's extremely important. So we may be able to glean even more information from those reports in order to move forward in some other directions that we know. There's one thing that Ward 3 and the Greater Parole Community Association has done in the past. We have a 15-point protocol that we go through to determine what the community may want or not want. And Bill Wyker is very familiar with that. We've talked about it over the past 6 years with the Eastport Civic Association. And that's something that brings some sort of semblance and some sort of organizational criteria to why we want to move forward and why we may or may not. So I'm waiting for the reports. I certainly, by all means, respect what has been said and what has been done and what's in the surveys, but I want to give due respect to the people who are part of the task force and part of the decision-making process, but part of the information gathering process. I think out of respect for them, that's what we need to do. But in Ward 3, we've come down on the side of things we didn't want and some things we did want, but adding a little more to it once we saw all the reports and once we heard from most, if not all of the folks in the community and the leadership as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It should be noted by the moderator that a number of the speakers have branched out into other answers in their responses that address questions that we also had planned to be explored in more detail. So we don't wish to appear redundant, but these are questions that we're seeking more detail on other than being addressed briefly in previous comments. So with that, the topic du jour in the City of Annapolis is the flooding of downtown and the problems that need to be addressed. However, there is not agreement on the construction of a visitor center at the end of the city dock. In fact, Historic Annapolis has filed suit to stop the project. Now there is a proposal to allow for the height restrictions in place at the city dock to be amended. What would be your plan as an alderman or the mayor in addressing these issues that are highly controversial in the city? With that, Mr. Thorpe, Mr. Coonan, sorry.
With regards to the first part, which I think was the city dock that you're asking about, my biggest concern with that project is the resilience.
Please silence your phones, thank you.
My biggest concern with the city dock project is the resilience aspect of the city dock project. So I was a midshipman, I graduated in 2011. The city dock was flooding then, and it's flooding now, and it's hurting our businesses and it's hurting our residents. A concern about that project is that we currently have a $33 million funding gap, and we've already removed the harbor master building with no plan in sight as to how we're going to make that gap up. I've seen numbers anywhere between $33 and $37 million. And so the priority of City Dock to address the resilience of downtown needs to be the resilience portion of the project. I am also supportive in providing people who visit and live here an enjoyable place to come downtown and enjoy downtown. We love downtown. Right now, it's a little bit hard to do that because we've started work without any plan in sight for how we're going to finish it. The second question was height restrictions downtown. I attended that city council meeting and it was very lively. And I also shared the concerns with my fellow residents about how we were looking to change height restrictions to address maybe a particular business. However, I've talked to people at the city who have actually helped build this legislation. I just want to make sure that it's clear that that piece of legislation that has been proposed has got a number of good things that are working towards adopting the comprehensive plan of 2040 that the city has put out. And so what was focused on is specifically the height restrictions, and I disagree with increasing the height restrictions, but I don't disagree with a number of the other things that are outlined in that piece of legislation that unfortunately didn't get the attention that they deserve because of the specific height restriction, which again, to reiterate, I do not agree with.
Thank you very much.
So the city council hosted a work session one day that discussed the plans for the city dock. And in fact, the $33 million that we're waiting to hear from FEMA, we were expecting to hear in August, now we're saying September. But the fact of the matter is, they addressed what they will do if we don't get the $33 million. And the first idea is to downsize the Maritime Welcome Center. I support downsizing the Maritime Welcome Center. I also support taking an entire look, the new city council taking a look at the plan. We must fund the resiliency part of it, absolutely no question. But after that, we need to start asking a question about, is the design consistent with historic Annapolis? We need to quit whittling away at the intent of a historic Annapolis. That's why we have it. Why are we going to put a splash pond, a water feature, on our city dock? There wasn't splash ponds in the late 1700s. And by the way, I ran the Navy Memorial for 8 years with 4 water fountains. They're expensive, they break, they cause you to have to dig ditches to build holes. Let's have a historic reference and a place that focuses on the historic nature of Annapolis and the maritime nature of Annapolis. As far as the hotel is concerned, let me be very clear. The height restriction should not be approved. The sight line across the city of Annapolis is beautiful. It is historic. Again, we can't let it be whittled away. We know that there's going to be patio lights up on top. That'll be the sight line. You'll look across the harbor and we're going to start seeing patio lights on the top. Again, there were no patio lights in the late 1700s. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The flooding downtown, that's a no-brainer. We definitely have to take care of that. And what I said publicly recently at a city council meeting, it has caused trauma to many of our businesses. Every time that there's a flood downtown, the sandbags come out. And it also affects their financial plan as well and what they do financially. So no, we are grateful for the Resilience Authority. They've done a wonderful job. As I said, I met with Matt Fleming on several occasions, and that's something that they're definitely working on. As far as some of the other amenities, that decision has not finally been made. I'm still listening. I'm still watching and listening to what the arguments are, and I have another protocol that I follow when I decide to vote on legislation. That's on my website as well. And so that's very helpful for me in making a determination, and you can go out there and take a look at it. I'm not going to go through the whole 12-step process, but it's one in which when you're making decisions, it makes it a lot easier to make those decisions. Yes, there are going to be alternative plans based on whatever funding we get or the funding that we don't get. But everything is constantly evolving because we don't know what kind of grant funding and what we're going to get, because we can't predict what's going on 30 miles to the west of us. So we have to constantly be looking at what's the alternative. And we do all know every time we may go in the garage, it would have fallen. I mean, that garage is very old. And so a lot of things that we've done downtown, we've had to do because there was a safety issue, and that was one of them. So as far as I'm concerned, we're still watching, we're still listening. I'm still following my 12-point protocol to determine what the next step and what the last answer and decision on my part will be regarding the city dock and all the amenities and things that we have down there that we all love. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in regards to City Dock, the hotel, the whole issue that's going down here, you'll find out that I'm consistent. What I'm going to say today was the exact same I said in Historic Annapolis, same thing for the Chamber of Commerce. Number one, I don't want it permanently, you need to hear this, we need to put a pause so we're able to reevaluate what is going on down there. Why? Because we do not have the funding. Anybody who's looked at the numbers, it was 72 million, it's creeped up to 86 million. They only started out with 68 million in the first place, and 33 of that was FEMA. Everybody know what's going on with FEMA? So that money, I think, is a little bit of a problem. That being said, resiliency and the flooding we need to take care of. I'm 100% with good old Sven at Storm Brothers. When you see what does happen, we've had 4 events lately. But here's what you really need to do. Everybody, take about 10 minutes and go to the July 17th special council meeting, and you will see what a cluster has been created down there. They do not have a plan in regards to what's going forward. They didn't have a plan when they tore down the harbor master's house. Why do I say that? There were no places to go to the bathroom. Okay, they had issues with electricity that they had to get approved. Now let's go to the height restriction. I 100% oppose increasing the height restriction down at the city dock area. Why? Because it is what Annapolis is. It's where we live. It's part of the sightline. The last thing, in regards to the Maritime Welcoming Center, it looks like a greenhouse. It doesn't look like those people ever walked around Annapolis. Why can't it look like Annapolis? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitman.
Implementing the City Dock Resilience Plan is crucial to protecting our city, and I am behind implementing it as quickly as possible. The incidence of flooding has increased dramatically over the past couple of years. Any effort to delay the project, to rethink in any meaningful way, is going to delay the project by a number of years. Meanwhile, our city businesses will continue to flood. So, this project has largely been funded. Huge hole with the FEMA funding of $33 million. So far, it is on track for the city to receive those funds. Everything beyond that is hypothetical. If the city does not get that $33 million, I'm, by the way, a member of the Resilience Authority for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. We think about these things all the time, and there are other opportunities for potential funding. For instance, there's a program for communities that are next to military installations, like the Naval Academy, because if the city does not build its resilience, it's also really bad for the Naval Academy. And vice versa is true, by the way. We also have opportunities to shrink the project. I have no doubt that fountain will not get built, because a project this large will no doubt have, even if we get all the funding, including FEMA money, there will be surprises, and we'll need to cut back the project in some ways to just keep focused on the resilience aspect. Beyond that, the Maritime Welcome Center, to me, is not part of the resilience aspect, so that would be the next on my list to either delay, shrink, or move that project until we have better funding and opportunities. But we need to get the resilience project done. There are other ways, by the way, to get cost savings from that project. The series of barriers, some can be fixed instead of moving up and down. To mention the Maritime Welcome Center, the flooding, the height restrictions, I am against the current legislation. I don't have time to explain it, but that's my bottom line position.
Thank you very much. The influx of major corporations, some owned by venture capital companies, in acquiring restaurants and marinas in Annapolis and the region, but specifically Annapolis, is taking place, whether you know it or not. As a member of the city council or the mayor, given the limited authority that we may have in corporate or business affairs or businesses to sell, how does this strike you in the evolution and transition of Annapolis to being a town that venture capital companies or major corporations that are not located in Annapolis are dictating large portions of our economy? With that, we're limiting this answer to 1 minute because this is a commercial question. Mr. Thorpe.
Okay, I'll talk fast. So let me answer the question directly, and the way to prevent that is through proper, clear zoning. The maritime zones currently prevent another 4,000 square foot restaurant in the maritime zones. If we back off of that, we will get 4,000 square foot restaurants. There are 99% of the people I've talked to, and I've talked to hundreds of people in Eastport, who don't want another 4,000 square foot restaurant. I used to say there was nobody, but one person said they thought it was cool. They thought it was cool. We can't take in the parking. We can't take in the cars. So we need to make sure that our zoning is crystal clear and we don't bend at all, like my opponent has said he's willing to do. We don't bend on the maritime zones, and we need a vision to make sure that the people that want to come into Annapolis and work on our water are maritime businesses.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cooper.
So a core tenet of my platform has been from day one supporting local businesses. We started a local business here just on the water, and it's been a great addition to this community. So to be very clear, I am supportive 100% of local businesses like ours, Oscar's Coffee, that employs eight people and enriches the lives of our community. I think that's really important. I think it's better for our residents, and it's better for our people that come and visit. I am not supportive by any means, despite what mine has been said, of large corporations coming in and building a Marriott or an Outback on the waterfront. And I've consistently said that throughout the course of my campaign. I think what has been misconstrued at times is that because I want to balance supporting our local businesses with also what is best for our residents, that it must be that I am always in support of big business, and that is not true. I am 100% in support of our local businesses because we started one, but we also have to balance that with the needs of the residents and also take into account that our zoning laws from 1987 might need to be updated to 2025.
Thank you. Let me clarify the question. I'm talking about the acquisition of current businesses, not 4,000 square foot restaurants. The acquisition of current marinas and restaurants in Annapolis.
The current acquisition of marinas and restaurants, which means they're already been acquired. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not. What we're saying is these are marinas and restaurants in the city now that are being acquired by venture capital companies or large corporations outside of the state. And is that a concern? And is there anything that could or should be done to address that issue as it changes who Annapolis is?
Definitely. There's several things, and we talk about civic and community participation, and we invite you all to come on months before the city council to tell us exactly how you feel about this. I don't know if you'd be surprised, but it would make a huge difference, I do believe, if you come to us and say, this is not what we want. Civic and participation to the council in person goes a long way. The other thing I'll say is, and I said this to several of my communities in Ward 3, if there is something that you are not happy about, come to us and say, this is a proposal where we think should be in that space and property. Is there something that you believe would work in your community that would be palatable to your residents? We're always looking for ideas and that sort of thing. Zoning, yes, but your participation to us in person helps a lot.
Thank you. Mr. O'Shea.
So, very simply, here's what the problem is. Our regulations and the cost of doing business in Annapolis is so high. What do we expect in regards to who's going to be here? The zoning, literally you get a guy who's about to start a restaurant, and all of a sudden he gets plans that are approved, they get disapproved. But there's even a bigger reason. Annapolis' city council treats the people who do well in Annapolis terrible. Perfect example, I'm going to say it, the Hartmans. They brought $500,000 a year to the boat shows, and whether you agree or not, the boat shows are good for Annapolis. Go back and look at my testimony back in 2012 when they were literally creating problems for the boat shows. Do we have a problem with the boat shows? They bring a lot of people here, and they make it so that people know who Annapolis is. We need to treat our local business people better so the big corporations all of a sudden don't have the appetite to take over from the small guy.
Thank you, Mr. O'Shea. Mr. Whitmer.
Thank you. Yes, I am absolutely concerned, and yes, there are things we can do. Number one, we need to fix our permitting department. The process kills small businesses and entrepreneurs. If you are just a budding entrepreneur with a small amount of money, once you take that loan and you're waiting, you start the process and you're waiting for the permits to get through, that kills small businesses. That incentivizes big businesses who can wait through that process. I'm a co-founder of a small business association called SOFO, South Forest Business Association. I'm a small business owner myself. I am very aware of the issues facing small businesses and ways we can make things better for them. I even, as a candidate, have conducted a forum for Black business owners that are here in Annapolis. The two things that they talk about are what they need the most: access to capital, which those big groups that both mentioned have, and education on resources that are available to them. I've talked to owners of businesses who are renting and have been renting for 30 years. We need to help those small business owners.
Thank you very much. We've got another 1-minute response question. And at this time, there are no requirements for the city manager or department directors to live in the city of Annapolis. These government employees are all highly compensated. Is it important and valuable to the operation of the city to have its city leadership living in the city? Mr. Kuna.
So I've had a conversation with someone in the city about this exact issue. When we were building our home, I was sitting in our basement waiting for a permit to get approved. I'll just leave it at that. And I asked the question, I said, have you ever gone through your own process that you require people that are renovating their home to go through? And he said, no, I haven't. I said, so you don't know and understand and appreciate the challenges that we are facing in order to get this house built? Because at the time, we had no place to go. So to answer your question correctly, I 100% agree that anyone that is living, to your, I think you said the city administrator, that is must live and needs to live in the city, because they need to understand and appreciate the policies that we're putting forth and the impact that those policies have on the residents, the small business owners, the people that live and work here every single day.
Thank you. Mr. Clark.
So while I think it'd be nice for the employees to live in the city, I do not believe our government should tell people where to live. And I think
I would modify the question for you. We specifically asked the city manager and department directors, highly compensated employees.
I was getting there. And so I go back to my answer though, Paul. The government should not tell people where to live. The only time that becomes appropriate is for elected officials who are representing the people. Would it be great if people lived in the city? Sure. I'm on the board of the Annapolis Maritime Museum. We would love for all the senior staff to really know the city and all that. But I think that's an overreach for government to be doing that. We should ensure it. But to Will's point about knowing the process, they need to know the process whether they live here or not, whether they work in parks and recs or planning and zoning. They should be evaluated on their ability to do their job, not on where they live.
Thank you. Mr. Whitman, and his city manager and department directors.
Thank you. So I would absolutely prefer the city manager and department directors to live here in the city. I would not make it an absolute requirement, but if I had two equally qualified individuals who I was considering to take one of those positions, I would definitely favor the one who was in the city. I do think there is a big benefit, to your point, of living in the city and experiencing the challenges and the benefits of living in the city. And frankly, I would extend that to other positions as well, where it's a preference, but not an absolute requirement. We have a unique community over here. It's a wonderful community, but we've got a lot of parks, we've got a lot of special needs, we have huge events that not every city has. Unless you experience the Tuesday practice on the Blue Angels, you wouldn't appreciate what a traffic nightmare that could be. Now you could, as a proxy, you could spend a lot of time down in the city and experience all those things, but being a resident helps you understand those issues. So it's a favor, it's a preference, not a requirement.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
So being they are highly compensated individuals, I think the way that I would look at it is I think that you need to make it so you can get as big a gene pool and the best talent possible. That being said, the top 3 people that right now I'm looking at when mayor are current City of Annapolis residents. I think the advantage to that is they have the feel, they understand what Annapolis is, they understand what our challenges are. I think what I would say is I'm agreeing, this is a good question you asked, it's the first time I really thought about it, but I do think that a person should be a resident, and what I would do is if it was from someone outside the area, let's give them, if we were to hire them, 6 months to be able to move in on the commitment that they're coming here. I think that we need to have people that have skin in the game and the decisions they make are made for our city, not just because of this is the way I think it should be done. Thank you.
Yes, when Eileen Fogarty and John Anderson went off the scene as planning and zoning directors, they were here for a long time. And I could run out of fingers and toes since that time how many planning and zoning directors we've gone through. That's part of the permitting problem, not having consistency. But what I can say is Mr. Jakubiak has been wonderful, and we've seen the progression. Next week he'll be here for 2 years, and it's made leaps and bounds for us. What I will say on a personal note, I was stuck in a position here in Annapolis where there was no chance for me to advance. My supervisor told me, you will never get a promotion. I went to Baltimore City and thrived. So I'm a living example of someone who was a transplant from here to Baltimore. I commuted every day, and it was the best professional experience I've ever had. In fact, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today but for me being a transplant and being a prosecutor in Baltimore City. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, it's on to the lightning round. This will be a simple question that the candidates must provide a yes or no answer. No other answer will be accepted. We are going to go and start with Mr. Kuna and work to the right, and the second question will work back to the left, and we'll go through the questions. Are you ready? Will you oppose amendments to the waterfront maritime zoning regulations that increase non-maritime uses in these zones? Yes or no? Oh. Will you oppose amendments to the waterfront maritime zoning regulations that increase non-maritime uses in these zones?
Yes.
No.
We.
Possibly. No. No.
I will oppose.
Thank you. Second question, will you support having a swimming pool at Eastport Terrace and Harbor House open for the entire summer and at least 8 hours per day? We're having microphone problems, sir. Yo, somebody needs to wake up our sound man. They're having problems hearing me. Will you support having a swimming pool at Eastport Terrace and Harbor House open for the summer and at least 8 hours per day?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Have you ever applied for a city building permit?
Yes.
Yes. No.
Yes.
We applied for multiple permits. I'm not sure if
Yes or
anyone.
no?
Probably. Yes.
Thank you. Should Annapolis have a police chief who has risen up through the ranks of the city police?
Sorry.
Should Annapolis have a police chief who has risen up through the ranks of the city police?
Are you asking if that's required?
Yes or no? Just yes or no?
I understand the question and no.
Oh, okay, thank you. Should Annapolis? We didn't say will they. I mean,
It's a must or a not must?
no, it's not. Answer the question, please.
Can you repeat read it, I'm sorry, because I am.
Should Annapolis have a police chief who has risen up through the ranks of the city police?
Not necessarily.
Thank you, that's not an answer. Go ahead.
No.
Not necessarily.
Not an answer.
No.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kuna, do you support a city-owned, privately operated electric ferry that will provide free transportation to downtown from Eastport?
No.
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 Yes.
Thank you. Will you implement new and comprehensive traffic management procedures to address city special events and flooding conditions to facilitate the safe and expeditious departure of vehicles exiting the Eastport Peninsula?
Emphatically, yes.
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 An emphatic yes.
Absolutely.
Last question. Do you agree that Eastport is a unique part of the city that needs to be protected to maintain its special qualities for residents and visitors?
Yes.
Yes.
Heck yes.
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 Okay, moving on. Thank you very much, Ken. I have no idea yes or no is going to be so challenging, but you're politicians. So, next one. This is also a short one, I hope, not 2 minutes, to allow the proper time for your closing remarks. When you were evaluated by the public, what are the 3 things you accomplished during your term in office? What would these 3 issues or programs be, and how would you accomplish them? Starting with Mr. Thorpe.
I would have implemented the 2016 parking recommendations. I would have implemented the 2018 parking plan. I would have been part of a city council that overhauled the budget process. I would have brought more transparency to government. I would have Eastport feeling that they're informed, that the numerous ways that they can learn what's going on through my emails, which have already started to be very clear and concise, through a website, through town halls. I would be focused on making sure that that we look back and that we have listened to the residents and that we have acted and got things done that the residents wanted to do.
Okay. Thank you for that responses. We're expecting the 3 issues or programs and how we will accomplish them. Mr. Kuna.
So the 3 things that I would like to be able to say that I accomplished as your next alderman are being able to actually get something done for our crosswalks and sidewalks so people feel safe walking their child down to school, or allowing someone to feel safe riding their bike from Eastport area. That's one. The second thing is lowering the cost of living for people to live here. I want to be able to encourage people my age to move here, start a family here, and have a home here. So being able to look back and say, yes, we made it more affordable. We gave you more options to live here. That would be number 2. The third thing I would like to be able to say is that not one more person has to experience what I experienced in December of 2023. We need to make sure that we are focused on improving the safety and reducing the crime in our community. And I've laid out previously this evening about my plan to do that. But those would be the 3 things.
I would want to be able to say that we have even lowered the crime and the public safety and crime rate even lower. That public safety is comprehensive, whether it be safe housing, safe to go downtown, and all those aspects. That we have mitigated the downtown flooding situation, that has been completed, and that all citizens are able to enjoy what we all, a lot of us enjoy already, and that there is increasing and continuing community and citizen involvement and interaction in what we feel and what we do, and bring it to the city council, and we are very receptive to what you are all trying to tell us and let us know, and as the boots on the ground, we want to hear from you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Shea, 3 items.
My 3 items. The first one would be safety. Making it so that every family feels comfortable having their child walk down to the Eastport Shopping Center, walking down to a beach, knowing that they're going to come home, and they will not have been in any way, shape, or form accosted. The way that I like to try and do that, as I already said before, is put more people on the ground. Second thing, I want to once and for all take care of Groundhog Day down at City Dock, where it just literally is over and over and over again. Make it a place that we all can be proud of, and we literally look forward to crossing the bridge to enjoy the City Dock area. The third thing is that when I left, they said that he actually was a public servant who did something for the City of Annapolis and not something to better himself or his businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitman.
Thank you. In 4 years, I'd like you to look back at our city, see our city dock that is actually effective, resilience in place, but that you'll also see it as the beginning of much more resilience. We have 22 miles of water line in the city, and I will do that by working with our residents, our experts, and our resilience authority, which I have significant experience with. Number two, I want you to experience a culture change. So that same customer service that you experience at my store, I want you to experience in your city government, where you feel like your city cares about you, is trying to get to yes as quickly and efficiently as possible. We will do that through strategic planning, which I have experience doing, which engages our city staff, our boards and commissions, entities like the Housing Authority, organizations like CRAB. We have so many wonderful resources, we need to use them. And three, we need to improve our city services, starting with permitting. Many mayors have said they would do it. I will do it.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish to thank you for your time and engagement with the forum this evening. We have exhausted the questions and the time that we have available. We are now proceeding into the final 2-minute wrap-up by each candidate to express why you should vote for them. The order will be the opposite of the opening remarks. So, starting as the Alderman will be Mr. Thorpe.
Thank you, Paul. So we've heard a lot this evening, and it's clear that the status quo is not good enough. It's also clear that we have a lot to do. Clearly, Will and I have talked tonight about how much we have to do. It's clear that being the Ward 8 Alderman is not a hobby. It's clear that being the Ward 8 Alderman is more than a part-time gig. I have the experience, the hometown enthusiasm, a full-time commitment, and a vision to make Eastport safer and easier to live. I've spoken to hundreds of people across Eastport in the last 10 months, building a big tent as to what the future of Eastport is. And people in Eastport are worried about the future and they want to get things done. We need proven leadership to get things done. We need to implement a vision for maritime Eastport, and we need to implement common sense plans like I have for parking and traffic and sidewalks and crime and permitting and the budget process. I have solved difficult challenges before, and I am standing ready to work with the City of Annapolis. We can together solve our problems. I've lived a life of service, and I'm offering to continue to serve and represent our wonderful community. If you want positive change, if you want an alderman in Ward 8 that will get things done, I am ready to serve you. All I need is your vote.
Thank you to the ECA tonight. Thank you to HACA for hosting us. Thank you to my fellow candidates for the discussion. I'm grateful to my campaign team as well as my husband who has stuck by me through this entire journey. And thanks to all of you for showing up and participating in the conversation tonight. I want to make it very clear, I love Eastport very much. Garrett and I started a business here. We have built our home here. We got married here down the street. Through those experiences, I have experienced both the opportunities and challenges that we face as a community. I'm running to bring a fresh perspective to our city council that is rooted in iterative changes that produce real results and ensure all members of our community have a seat at the table. I'm an unaffiliated candidate, which means the priority is you, whether you're a homeowner or a business owner. Tonight's discussion has highlighted what is often true of most political discourse. Most of us agree on a set of core principles. We must address, for example, the housing affordability crisis we have in Annapolis. Property taxes have risen by 40% in 15 years. We must get our tax rate under control to provide opportunity for people to move here and live here and be able to stay here as well. We also need to take a hard look at the money we are spending at the city level. From affordability to actually implementing solutions like fixing our sidewalks and crosswalks, I believe we can have a neighborhood that serves all of us, not just some of us. My simple promise to you as your alderman, I will be authentic, I will tell you the truth, and I will be a daily advocate for you every single day. And I will always email you back. Together, I think that we can make sure Ward 8 remains the most vibrant, diverse, and welcoming community that we are all proud to call home. I ask for your vote and support in November, and please, throughout the remainder of this campaign, reach out, call, text, or email me, and I look forward to seeing you in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Charles.
Yes, the qualifications and capabilities for any mayor events and maintaining public safety determines the city's success. One's resume should say it all. The 16 jobs that I've had over my lifetime and none were the same. These occupations have fully prepared me, especially from Baltimore City. At any given time, I supervise 20 prosecutors, 15 support staff where our criminal courts division alone handled over 30,000 hearings per year. I work with all types of people and skill sets. I learned how to make it work. I had to on only a few occasions. As a supervisor, I had to let a few of them go. I hired, trained, and supervised hundreds of these baby prosecutors as well as support staff. For many of them, this was their first professional legal job. I did this every day for 12 years. My legacy that I'm proud of, 15 of those that I trained have gone on to become sitting judges on all 4 levels of Maryland's judiciary, including one who sits as a U.S. judge magistrate on the federal bench, and 3 elected state's attorneys in Maryland. For the next 8.5 years, I co-developed along with the state's attorney and served as a prosecutor in the Family Violence Division, where we prosecuted physical child abuse cases and companion domestic violence cases. On any given day, every day for 20.5 years, I worked with them on behalf of approximately 300 prosecutors, 150 support staff, 350 court personnel, 50 judges located in 5 different courthouses all around the city. I alone selected and presented before 2 different legal delegations, one from China and one from Russia. Also, at any given time, we worked with upwards of 3,500 law enforcement officers, and I was selected to be a part of the training team at the police academy in Owens Mills, which comprised of police from many different disciplines. In Baltimore, practically every day was a crisis and or an emergency. Whatever you may think about Baltimore City, and I was actually born there, it was a great training opportunity no matter what you decided to do next. So, am I crisis ready and emergency prepared? Yes. Am I ready on day 1? For sure. Serving as your acting mayor for 67 days on 9 different occasions. Am I ready to be your next mayor of this great city of Annapolis that we call home? Definitely. The clear choice. Vote Rhonda Pendell Charles. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Steph.
Annapolis, Maryland is not an R. Annapolis, Maryland is not a D. Annapolis, Maryland is an A for all of us. It is an A for Annapolis. Understand that we need to make it so that we move forward. I, Bobby O'Shea, will be your voice in City Hall. I will be transparent, I will be accountable, and I will be accessible. You will know what we're planning on doing, and when we do something, it's because we have a plan that is actually enforceable and is implementable. I go to people that are smarter than me. Why? Because I'm going to even give them the credit. because all we care about is making it so we get something better. John Panalini says to his son Mike, why is there always time to do the job over and never time to do the job right? Take all these things in Annapolis that literally fall into that category. Why are we still talking about city dock since 2012? Why are we still talking about height regulations in the city dock area? Why are we still talking about crime? Why are we still talking about safety? Why are we still talking about individuals not feeling safe? I am tired of 9-0 votes. 9-0 votes are people drinking the Kool-Aid and just doing what we say. You never get the best result if there isn't a little bit of friction. And you usually end up with a better result. I ask you for one thing. I ask you for my vote. My name is Bobby O'Shea, and this really means a lot to me. Thanks for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. Have a good night.
Quickly on the electric ferry question, I support it because it's not city funds. It's supported by federal funds, and it's only the beginning of a bigger transportation system. Begin my closing now. Yesterday was my wife's and I 24th wedding anniversary. And in thinking about that and then getting ready for today, it was reminding me of an instance I had door knocking here in Eastport. I knocked on someone's door. The woman answered and said, I know you. You run K&B Ace Hardware. It was a True Value at the time. I designed your wedding invitation 24 years ago. And then she pulls out the album and shows me the wedding invitation that was done. And it was obviously a very sweet moment. She's a retiree. I've talked to a lot of retirees that say we need help keeping Annapolis affordable so that we could stay in our homes. It's one of the reasons I'm running for Annapolis. I see Donna Johnson here, who does incredible things here in Eastport. She's one of the reasons I'm running for Annapolis. I want to make her proud and support community-run efforts like what she does. I will work to strategize with our city employees and have already started that process of engaging with our employees. In fact, I've earned the support of 3 city unions, the firefighters, the public works union, and the clerical and technical workers unions have all endorsed me because they appreciate that I'm listening and I'm reaching to them for advice and solutions. I have experience dealing with serious issues, and we have a lot of serious issues. We just touched the surface here tonight. We have the city dock, housing, we have a budget crisis, we have a potential growing homeless crisis, we have serious issues. My background as an engineer, a lawyer, a business owner, a corporate director, serving on the city council has prepared me to navigate through hard issues that are coming up. We don't know what the future holds, whether we're going to have reduced funding, maybe we do. 2 minutes goes fast. Thank you for your vote on September 16th. Please vote for Jared.